live in interesting times.
For the headlines.
Philippine authorities ordered a crackdown on evacuees' daily visits to their homes in the danger zone around Taal Volcano, as scientists warned it could be recharging for a more powerful explosion.
China on Monday reported the mysterious SARS-like virus had spread across the country, including to Beijing, raising concerns as millions begin trips for the Chinese Lunar New Year.
South Korea confirmed its first case of the SARS-like virus that is spreading in China as concerns mount about a wider outbreak.
The Canadian Army will send 150 to 200 soldiers to Newfoundland and Labrador to help the province recover from a blizzard that buried the region under an unusual amount of snow.
I'm Alma Angeles, wherever you're watching from around the world. Thank you very much for joining us.
We welcome our viewers here in the Philippines and around the world. Good evening, everyone. I'm Sam Cepeda.
And now to the news. PHIVOLCS Director Renato Solidum said Taal Volcano may look calm on the outside with only infrequent weak explosions generated in the past 24 hours. But he warns that there is definite activity brewing underneath. Dr. Solidum said they have seen a resupply of molten rocks underneath Taal, warning it may lead to more dangerous volcanic activity. He also said the continued earthquakes and an increase in the volcano's emission of sulfur dioxide gas were possible indications of a recharge of magma which would drive a major blast. Let's listen in.
50 plus tons per day o para doon sa araw na sa walang mahigit. Ang ating pong mga paglintol ay patuloy na itatala. Sa malalaking paglintol, hindi kasing dami as before, pero patuloy po yung paglintol sa mga lugar na nabilintol na noon na related sa pag-akyat ng isang magma at pagkakaroon ng bitak. Sa ilalim naman ng Taal Volcano at mga kalapit na lugar, meron po tayong separate network na nakakadetect ng mas maliliit na lintol. Katulad po ng mga paglintol sa labas at sa ilalim ng Taal Volcano Network, ito pong pagkakaroon ng mga paglintol ay nangangahulugan meron pang pagkilos ang magma. Dalawa po ang magma na nakikita natin. Siyempre, yung nandun na sa ilalim ng isla at umabot nung Lunes, nung Linggo at Lunes. Ito po ay nandyan pa rin at yun po ang nagtitigas. At pangalawang body of magma ay mula sa ilalim ay nagsusupply papunta sa ilalim ng Taal Volcano. At ito po ay isang papantayan natin maigi kasi kung ito ay umabot sa Taal Volcano Island, ito yung magsusupply ng panibagong batch of magma na pwedeng magpatuloy, na pwedeng magtuloy sa kasalukuyang aktibidad ng Taal Volcano. Overall, sa mga observation po natin nakikita, maintain po natin ang alert level number 4 over Taal Volcano. At ang posibilidad na magkaroon ng malalakas na pagsabog ay nandyan. At ang ating pong reminder, ang Taal Volcano Island, mga high-risk area sa paligid ng Taal Volcano sa loob ng 14 kilometers na na-identify na delikado, lalong-lalo na sa base search, isang tipo ng pyroclastic dyan sa likarin, ay dapat obserbahan. Ganun din along the Pacific River Valley na nagkakaroon ng bitak. At ayon po sa pag-asa, kung sakaling may mga pagsabog at ang taas ay below 3 kilometers, mapapadpad ang abo papuntang west and southwest. Ito po ay nakikita natin sa mga usok na pinapadpad sa direksyon na yon. At kung sakali naman mas mataas sa 5 kilometro, ang AS2 ay pwedeng mapadpad papunta doon sa iba-ibang lugar like Metro Manila, Laguna, parts of Rizal, and Northern Quezon. Wala pa naman po, kung sakali lang para naman ma-anticipate natin. Maliban po sa na-report natin, nagkaroon ng paglindol sa Mabini, Batangas. Ito po ay nangyari gabi, ang pinakamalakas ay magnitude 4.6. 8:59 ng gabi, ito po mga lindol na to sa Pamigi, Batangas, ay dulot ng pagkilos ng fault na kumilos na noong April 2017 series of earthquakes. No? Ito po ay nangyayari habang ang Taal Volcano naman ay may activity. Kung ito yung Taal Volcano, pero magma sa ilalim, may nagsusupply pa doon. At yun din po, habang umakyat ito, nagkakaroon ng uplift o pagtulak doon sa lupa, kaya nagkakaroon ng bitak doon sa ibabaw. At kaya din napaangat yung lupa sa paligid, na-stretch yung taalik, napaangat yung tubig, bumaba yung, napaangat yung lupa, bumaba yung tubig. Yun po yung dahilan ng pagkawalan ng tubig, maliban sa pag-vaporize.
Philippine authorities ordered a crackdown Monday on evacuees' daily visits to their homes in the danger zone around Taal Volcano, as scientists warn it could be recharging for a more powerful explosion. Interior Undersecretary Epimaco Densing III made this warning following reports that several tourism establishments, including hotels and restaurants, are now back in business, even as alert level 4 remains over the area.
If they defy the memorandum, we will again direct the local chief executive to close them down, cancel their mayor's permit and their operating permits. And if they continue to operate even in the absence of those permits, we will send the Philippine National Police to close them down. Hopefully, we can have a dialogue with the businesses and see what kind of assistance we can give together with the Department of Trade and Industry.
Alert level 4 means that a hazardous explosion or explosive eruption is possible within hours to days. Dr. Renato Solidum of FIVOC said continued earthquakes and an increase in the volcano's emission of sulfur dioxide gas were possible indications of a recharge of magma, which would drive a major blast.
Ash spewed by a Philippine volcano is being mixed with plastic waste to make bricks in an inventive response to the country's persistent problems of pollution and frequent natural disasters. Take a look.
Instead of white sand, unti-untiin mo, palitan mo ng ashfall. So, eventually, nakuha namin yung we call it formulation, na yung proportion niya, ayan, nagagawa na natin.
China on Monday reported a mysterious SARS-like virus had spread across the country, including to Beijing, raising concerns as millions begin trips for the Chinese Lunar New Year. Authorities said a third person was confirmed to have died, as nearly 140 cases were announced.
Meanwhile, South Korea has now confirmed its first case of the SARS-like virus that is spreading in China as concerns mount about a wider outbreak. The Korea Centers for Disease Control and Prevention said a 35-year-old Chinese woman who flew in from Wuhan, the apparent epicenter of the outbreak, was confirmed to have the new coronavirus strain. She went to hospital in Wuhan on Saturday with symptoms of a cold and was prescribed medication before flying to Incheon Airport on Sunday, where she was taken into quarantine. Her infection was confirmed on Monday when she was in stable condition and being treated in an isolation unit at a medical facility. She was visiting Seoul on a tour for the Lunar New Year holidays, according to KCDC Director Jung Yun-kyung, adding Korean authorities were investigating her movement on on the plane and those who might have come in contact with her, including flight attendants. Some experts have suggested that there are probably far more cases of the illness than the authorities have disclosed. One estimate by researchers at Imperial College London suggested on Friday that there could be as many as 1,700 cases of the new virus. The WHO said on Sunday that China could potentially confirm more cases in the coming days and weeks as more people were screened for it.
As fears that the SARS-like virus in China would spread during the Lunar New Year holiday, when hundreds of millions of Chinese move around the country or overseas, only a minority of travelers leaving Beijing expressed concern amid strict government control of information about the virus. Scientists have warned the true scale of the outbreak of a mysterious SARS-like virus in China is likely far bigger than officially reported, as countries ramp up measures to prevent the disease from spreading.
Meanwhile, Chinese state media moved to calm the mood as discussion about the coronavirus spreading to other Chinese cities swelled on social media. China said that it's taking serious and professional measures to control and prevent the new SARS-like virus that has killed a third person and reached a third Asian country. Take a look.
是疫情发生以来，中方本着严肃、认真、专业的态度，予以积极的处置，制定严密的防控方案，全力救治患者，做好密切接触者的管理，深入开展流行病学调查，对外及时发布疫情防治有关信息，并且积极开展防病知识的宣传。与此同时，中方本着负责任的态度，及时向世界卫生组织、有关国家和地区组织以及港澳台地区通报疫情信息，并保持密切沟通。
A seafood market is believed to be the center of the outbreak in Wuhan, but health officials have reported that some patients had no history of contact with the facility. The World Health Organization said on Twitter on Monday that an animal source seems the most likely primary source, with some limited human-to-human transmission occurring between close contacts. It also said the new cases in China were the result of increased searching and testing for the virus among people sick with respiratory illness. Scientists with the MRC Center for Global Infectious Disease Analysis at Imperial College in London warned in a paper published on Friday that the number of cases in the city was likely to be closer to 1,700. It is much higher than the number officially identified. Wuhan authorities also said they have installed infrared thermometers at airports, railway stations, and coach stations across the city. Passengers with fevers were being registered, given masks, and then taken to medical institutions. Authorities in Hong Kong have also stepped up virus detection measures at border crossings, including rigorous
It's the first blast of winter for the year 2020. A day that began with clear skies and dry roads quickly became a snowstorm that hit the Toronto area of Canada. April Masongsong reports.
Environment Canada has issued a snowfall warning for the city of Toronto as the city expects 15 centimeters of snow by the late afternoon. Toronto experiences its first snowstorm of the year as heavy snowfall with gusty winds hits the city today. According to Environment Canada, 15 centimeters of snow and gusty winds going to 50 kilometers per hour are what Toronto would have to brace and deal with Saturday afternoon. Because of the blowing heavy snow and winds, visibility is severely reduced, and drivers are warned to carefully go about the roads. People are also advised to stay indoors as much as possible. Environment Canada also warns the city of showers and wet flurries after the heavy snowfall Saturday evening until early Sunday morning the following day. From Toronto, Canada, April Masongsong, Eagle News, 1 with 25.
Thank you, April. Meanwhile, the Canadian Army is sending 150 to 200 soldiers to Newfoundland and Labrador to help the province recover from the blizzard that buried the region under an unusual amount of snow, according to Defense Minister Harjit Sajjan. The soldiers were expected in the Atlantic province from Sunday evening to help with snow clearing and removal operations. More than 28 inches of snow fell in 24 hours on St. John's, the provincial capital. The snow and snow drifts caused by winds of more than 60 miles per hour or 100 kilometers, blocked roads and buried cars and some houses. The number of troops, both active and reserve, could reach 250 or 300 in the next few days, based on need, according to Sajjan. The Canadian Armed Forces will also provide 2 Hercules transport planes and 2 Griffon helicopters, the minister said during the press conference on the sidelines of a government meeting in Winnipeg. The snow clearing operations are expected to take time and could be complicated by fresh snowfall. Canadian weather forecasts predict 4 to 6 more inches to fall in the next few hours.
Thunderstorms and giant hail battered parts of Australia's east coast on Monday after apocalyptic dust storms swept across drought-stricken areas as extreme weather patterns collided in the bushfire-fatigued country. Dramatic images captured over the weekend from western New South Wales show a massive wall of dust rolling through outback towns. Locals reported being cast into darkness in the middle of the day. The Bureau of Meteorology issued a series of severe thunderstorms warning on Sunday evening for inland NSW, with the associated winds generating massive dust clouds. Videos posted to social media show dust storms descending on Davos and nearby towns that were so thick they blocked out the sun. The southern city of Melbourne was also lashed by huge hailstones late Sunday.
Staying in Australia, firefighters are taking advantage of the heavy rain and cooler conditions, in parts scorched by bushfires. The cooler temperatures and rain had eased the raging bushfires. We have a report from Celine Ryan Andrews.
We bring you the latest updates on the bushfire crisis in Australia. Fires continue in the different parts of the country, however, are a little dampened by the onset of rains occurring in the past few days and are forecasted to continue until next week. Evacuations have been underway and emergency alerts have been in place in New South Wales, Victoria and South Australia as authorities predict the devastating bushfires will continue burning until at least March. At least 28 people have been killed in blazes across the country since the bushfire season began in October 2019. With 20 people dead and more than 5.2 million hectares burnt, around 90 fires were burning in New South Wales. A devastating 1,870 homes were confirmed destroyed. In Victoria, 19 bushfires are burning more than 1.2 million hectares in the northeast and alpine regions, resulting in the death of 4 people. 3 people, including 2 from Kangaroo Island, are dead and more than 274,000 hectares are rapidly burning in South Australia.
Meanwhile, described as a 1-in-a-100-year event, a dangerous storm has swept through southeast Queensland overnight and into the morning, causing flash floodings in parts of Brisbane and Gold Coast. Landmarks such as Movie World and Went Wild were also shut down due to being flooded. The onset of rains is a welcome change everybody has been looking forward to. However, the stormy weather bringing a huge volume of water has caused flooding in some areas and major highways. The extreme heat conditions withered the moisture from soil, leaving it dry and unable to quickly absorb rain, thereby causing some flooding incidents.
As this is a developing story, we will give you more updates from the EBC bureaus here in Australia. Reporting from Gold Coast, Queensland, Australia, this is Celine Ryan Andrews and I'm 1 with 25.
An Aid to Humanity event was held by Iglesia Ni Cristo members in Brisbane. Reporting from Australia, here's Diego Madroño.
Anywhere in the world, the members of the Iglesia Ni Cristo, or Church of Christ, are proactively engaged in providing assistance to those in need. That is exactly what is happening now in Brisbane, Queensland, in Australia. The church members are gathered once more to extend support to senior citizens, student and working visa holders in the country. Transitioning to a new environment poses challenges in itself, especially in a country with a different culture and environment compared to one's homeland. More so, transitioning to old age is also an inevitable phase in life that individuals must learn to accept and adapt with. As such a crucial stage in one's life, extending support to those in need is a very welcome gesture that these individuals, old and young, would very much appreciate. Because taking care of fellow men is also fundamental to the teachings in the Bible being upheld by the members of the Iglesia Ni Cristo, or Church of Christ, the Aid to Humanity is being conducted here in Brisbane, Queensland, Australia. This is part of the global program of the Church to extend aid not only to their church members, but to the communities as well. A little help would go far indeed, and this is what the Iglesia Ni Cristo members have once again proven, that any support, big or small, would greatly impact the community, more importantly, an individual person's life. The Church's Global Aid to Humanity program is unstoppable, contributing small and large-scale projects to make people's lives better.
We are holding now our Aid to Humanity, and like what we have done at the first part of our activity was the preaching of God's words, and now we are providing some sort of entertainment for our guests that has attended. And then in a few moments, we will be providing some care packages as a token of our appreciation and to extend a helping hand to our fellow men. Well, the purpose of this activity, like what was initiated by our beloved Executive Minister, Brother Eduardo V. Manalo, Aid to Humanity, we fulfill what is commanded by God to us, that as we love God with all our heart, mind, and soul, we should do the same to our neighbors. And part of that is that we will be extending a helping hand to those that are in need of our assistance.
The activity is very amazing and so wonderful, seeing different talents, and the people are, I can see that the people here are united. Yeah, and I'm so blessed that I am invited here by my friend. Actually, she's my co-teacher in the Philippines, and this is my first time attending this kind of gathering, and I'm very blessed because I'm able to at least hear God's teachings and from the different pastors. Yeah, and it's very, you know, it's like nourishing my soul.
Reporting from Brisbane, Australia, this is Diego Madroño, and I'm 1 with 25.
And the news continues here at Eagle News. We'll be right back. Two police officers killed, a third one critically injured, and 4 houses burned at a high-end neighborhood near Waikiki. All of these were the result of what began as a domestic dispute between a landlord and a tenant on Sunday morning. Our Hawaii correspondent Ron Hamilton has more.
Here's the latest information we have regarding the active shooter incident that happened earlier today in Waikiki.
At around 9:30 a.m., Honolulu police responded to what started as a domestic incident call involving a landlord attempting to evict a tenant residing along Hibiscus Drive near Diamond Head, Kapiolani Park. According to police, the tenant, who was identified as Jerry Hanel, age 68, allegedly stabbed the landlord and set the property on fire, resulting in a blaze affecting 4 high-end homes nearby. Black smoke could be seen from miles around as a result. The tenant, suspect, later shot the 2 police officers who arrived at the scene. One of the officers, a female, was rushed to the Queens Medical Center in Honolulu and later died of her wounds. The second officer also later died of wounds. A third officer is currently listed as injured. Honolulu Mayor Kirk Caldwell has been briefed on the situation and has expressed condolences to all those affected. Local politicians expressed similar sympathies. The FBI also has acknowledged the ongoing incident, but there's still no further details whether state or federal officials will need to get involved. The 2 officers killed were identified by the chief of police during a briefing. They were officers Tiffany Enriquez, a 7-year veteran of the force, and Kaulike Kalama, a 9-year veteran. The suspect is still unaccounted for, but is believed to have died during the fire. Reporting from Honolulu, Hawaii, this is Ron Hamilton for Eagle News. I am 1 with 25.
Lebanese anti-riot police dispersed stone-throwing protesters with tear gas in Lebanon's capital on Sunday as heavy rain capped a weekend of rare violence that wounded hundreds. Medics said 145 people were wounded in the latest clashes, taking the casualty toll to more than 530 in 2 days. For a second night in a row, dozens of people started lobbing stones at police behind a metal barricade blocking a road to Parliament, crying "Revolution, Revolution." Anti-riot forces responded with water cannons, rubber bullets, and then thick plumes of tear gas that pushed demonstrators back towards a main square. President Michel Aoun called for a security meeting on Monday with the Interior and Defense ministers to discuss the crisis. Unprecedented protests have rocked the country since October 17, with citizens from all religious backgrounds demanding the ouster of a political class viewed as inept, corrupt, and responsible for an ever-deepening economic crisis. Protesters have demanded a new government be comprised solely of independent experts and exclude all established political parties. The World Bank has warned the poverty rate in Lebanon could rise from a third to half of the population if the political crisis is not resolved soon.
Meanwhile, Iraqis took to the streets in the shrine city of Karbala as a deadline they had given authorities to implement long-awaited reforms expires today. Rallies have rocked Iraq since October, but fearing they would lose momentum amid spiraling regional tensions, protesters last Monday told the government it had 1 week to meet their demands or they would escalate. Since October, around 460 people have lost their lives to protest-related violence and another 25,000 have been wounded, according to an AFP count. Authorities do not provide updated casualty numbers. Demonstrators have feared their movement would be eclipsed by the geopolitical storm brewing between neighboring Iran and the U.S., both close partners of Iraq. The demonstrations first erupted in October over corruption, lack of jobs, and poor services, but escalated quickly to demand a total overhaul of the government.
Thousands of gun rights supporters will descend Monday on Richmond, the capital of Virginia, for a rally already under heavy surveillance and a state of emergency declared by authorities fearing violence by far-right groups. The demonstrators will gather in front of the Capitol building for a so-called Lobby Day organized by the Virginia Citizens Defense League, or VCDL, which opposes gun control laws proposed by state Democrats who control the Virginia government. The VCDL has condemned what it considers a breach of the Second Amendment of the U.S. Constitution, which states that the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. The amendment has proved controversial over the years and has been subject to many different interpretations. The Supreme Court has ruled that individuals have the right to keep firearms in their households, but left it to states to determine how the weapons could be transported.
And a royal goodbye. Harry and Meghan gave up their highness titles as they prepare to move to Canada. Britain's Prince Harry expressed great sadness as he said he is taking a leap of faith in stepping back from being a senior royal. Speaking at an event on Sunday evening, Prince Harry said he and Meghan had hoped to continue serving the Queen but without public funding. Unfortunately, he said that wasn't possible. It was his first speech since the couple said they wanted to stand down from being full-time working royals. Let's listen in.
Before I begin, I must say that I can only imagine what you may have heard or perhaps read over the past few weeks. So, I want you to hear the truth from me, as much as I can share, not as a prince or a duke, but as Harry, the same person that many of you have watched grow up over the last 35 years, but now with a clearer perspective. The UK is my home, and a place that I love. That will never change. I've grown up feeling supported from so many of you, and I watched as you welcomed Meghan with open arms, as you saw me find the love and happiness that I'd hoped for all my life. Finally, the second son of Diana got hitched. Hooray. I also know that you've come to know me well enough over all these years to trust that the woman I chose as my wife upholds the same values as I do. And she does. And she's the same woman I fell in love with. For those reasons, it brings me great sadness that it has come to this. I was born into this life, and it is a great honour to serve my country and the Queen. When I lost my mum 23 years ago, you took me under your wing. You looked out for me for so long, but the media is a powerful force. And my hope is one day our collective support for each other can be more powerful, because this is so much bigger than just us. It has been our privilege to serve you, and we will continue to lead a life of service. So in that respect, nothing changes. I will always have the utmost respect for my grandmother, my Commander-in-Chief, and I am incredibly grateful to her and the rest of my family for the support they have shown Meghan and I over the last few months. I will continue to be the same man who holds his country dear and dedicates his life to supporting the causes, charities and military communities that are so important to me. Together, you have given me an education about living, and this role has taught me more about what is right and just than I could ever have imagined. We are taking a leap of faith, so thank you for giving me the courage to take this next step. So,
congratulations.
The settlement stripped Harry and Meghan of public funding and required them to repay £2.4 million of taxpayers' money spent on renovating their Frogmore cottage home near Windsor Castle. Harry was also forced to give up the military titles and patronages he was awarded after serving 2 tours in Afghanistan with the British Army. But Harry said he felt utmost respect for Queen Elizabeth II, as we heard there. Meanwhile, the Prince of Wales, or Prince Charles, is planning to review the Duke and Duchess of Sussex abdication deal within a year amid fears over the mounting costs of their proposed lifestyle. While the couple have severed all official ties with the royal family, the prince is to continue to offer private financial support to his son and his wife as they embark on a new independent life in Canada. The substantial cash injection is expected to come from his own private investment income.
Malaysia sent back 150 containers of plastic waste to mostly wealthier nations, with the Southeast Asian country saying Monday it would not be the world's garbage dump. Let's listen in.
To date, the government of Malaysia has repatriated 150 containers of illegal plastic waste with approximately 3,737 metric tons. Through our inspection at the ports and data from Royal Malaysian Customs Department, most of the containers are exported from developed countries, including France, United Kingdom, United States, Canada, Spain, and Japan. So we have sent 150. There are 110 more that we will send across the 3 different ports in Malaysia. The one that is to be sent back is from the United States. Yeah? We still have 60 out of 110 are from United States. So we will continue to work with the United States government, the relevant local agencies in the United States to make sure that we actually send it back. So
the region has been flooded with plastic from more developed economies such as the United States and Britain since 2018, after China, which previously boasted a massive recycling industry, ordered a halt to most imports. Many Chinese recycling businesses moved to Malaysia after the ban took effect, leading to huge quantities of plastic being shipped in without permits and flooding small communities. The exporting countries and shipping lines cover the cost of returning the containers. We don't want to pay a single cent, the minister said. People dump their rubbish into your country. We are not supposed to pay them to send it back. Several Southeast Asian countries have sent back unwanted waste in recent months. Indonesia has returned hundreds of containers to their countries of origin, and the Philippines returned a huge shipment of garbage to Canada.
Meanwhile, China will ban plastic bags in major cities and single-use straws from restaurants by the end of this year in a bid to cut down on waste. In a document released on Sunday, the National Development and Reform Commission, or NDRC, and the Ministry of Ecology and Environment said the production and sale of disposable polystyrene and plastic tableware will be banned by the end of the year. The plan also outlaws single-use straws in the food and beverage industry this year, while disposable plastic products should not be actively provided by hotels by 2022. The document also calls for firms in sectors such as e-commerce and food delivery to cultivate new business models and work with their merchants to reduce waste and disposable plastics. The country is one of the world's biggest users of plastic, and the plan targets a 30% reduction in disposable plastic utensils used by the takeaway food industry in major cities within 5 years. Decades of rapid development and a consumption drive have created huge levels of waste in the country of 1.4 billion people. China produced 210 million tons of trash in 2017, according to the World Bank figures, which warns that could soar to 500 million tons annually by 2030.
Nearly 80 prisoners, many of them members of a big Brazilian drug and arms trafficking gang and described as highly dangerous, escaped Sunday from a Paraguayan prison near the border with Brazil, police said. The inmates, both Brazilians and Paraguayans, made their way or getaway through a tunnel they had dug from the prison in the border city of Pedro Juan Caballero, police spokeswoman Elena Andrade said. Our best men have gone to the border to attempt to recapture the prisoners, she said. The number of escapees totaled 76, including 40 Brazilians and 36 Paraguayans. Justice Minister Cecilia Perez issued a sharp condemnation, telling reporters that it must have taken prisoners several weeks to build a tunnel and adding it is evident that the staff knew nothing and did nothing. The prison's warden was dismissed and dozens of guards were arrested. Most of the escapees belong to a criminal gang known as First Capital Command, one of Brazil's most powerful gangs. Andrade said the burning hulks of 5 vans used in the escape were found in Ponta Porã, a Brazilian city separated from Pedro Juan Caballero only by an avenue. Justice Minister Cecilia Perez voiced a strong suspicion that officials are involved in this corrupt scheme and said that the escapees are considered highly dangerous.
To other news now, members of the Church of Christ held a blood donation drive in Taiwan. To give us the details, here's Keith Ong.
The religious organization Church of Christ, or Iglesia ni Cristo, sponsored the blood donation activity for the 5th time here in Taipei, the capital city of Taiwan. Not even the rain stopped the members of the Church of Christ in donating blood to help the community. Here's my report. The Church of Christ, or Iglesia ni Cristo, is active in many fields of endeavor, including works of social significance and benefit, just like the blood donation activity recently held in Taipei City, Taiwan. This is the 5th time that the Church of Christ members donate blood.
Ngayong araw, nagsasagawa po tayo ng blood donation activity dito po sa Taipei, kung saan pinangunahan po ito ng kapisahan ng SCAN. Kasama din po ang mga kapatid na galing po sa iba't ibang mga lokal.
Pang ilang beses na po itong naisagawa?
Ito po ay naisagawa na po ng pang 5 beses na po ito bale. Ang unang sinagawa po ay doon po sa dako po ng Chongli. At ang pangalawa po ay sinagawa sa Tainan. Pangatlo ay sa Taichung. At ang pangapat ay dito po noong 2018. At ngayon po ang panglima, 2020 po.
Bakit po ito isinasagawa ng Iglesia ni Cristo dito sa Taiwan?
Ang blood donation activity po kasi ay isa sa mga mahalagang aktibidad ng iglesia na kung saan pinangungunahan po ng ating mga kapatid, maging ang mga kapisahan ng SCAN sapagkat bukod sa nagdudulot po ito ng magandang epekto sa ating katawan, ay tayo rin po ay nakakatulong sa ating komunidad. Lalong-lalo na po dito po sa bansang Taiwan, kung saan tayo po ay pansamantalang naninirahan, naninilbihan, subalit nakakatulong din po tayo sa mga mamayan ng mga Taiwanese po.
The activity, sponsored and spearheaded by SCAN, an organization inside the church, was able to contribute a lot to the aim of the government to promote the health benefits of donating blood by qualified donors and to the society.
Opo, nag-donate po ako ng dugo sa araw na ito.
Gano'ng karami po?
At ang binigay po nating dugo ay 250cc po.
Ano po yung mga reminders o mga paalala na dapat gawin bago mag-donate ng dugo na sinabi sa inyo?
Batay po sa kanilang mga tinagubilin po sa atin bago tayo magbigay ng dugo, ay kailangan po ay nasa proper condition po ang ating pangangatawan at masigla po. At syempre, lalong-lalo na po yung dapat yung tulog po natin ay yung proper po na 6 to 8 hours po na dapat nakatulog po tayo. Ayan po. At syempre po, kailangan
walang sakit po, no?
Opo, walang sakit, syempre. Yan nga po, tulad ng sinabi natin, proper condition po ang ating pangangatawan. Ayun po.
Ano naman po ang nadulot sa inyo nung pag-donate ng dugo, personally?
Ay syempre po, lagi po nating nasa sa isip na pagka tayo po ay nagbibigay ng dugo sa ating kapwa-tao, ay napakahalagang bagay po nito at napaka-importante po, napakasarap sa pakiramdam na makapagbigay po tayo ng dugo sa ating kapwa. At syempre po, napakasarap po na napapalitan po yung ating dugo sa ating pangangatawan, na isa po sa napakahalagang bagay po nito.
Reporting from Taipei, Taiwan, I'm Keith Ong. I'm 1 with 25.
Thanks, Keith.
Thanks, Keith. We'll be back with more news right after this break.
Innovation, digital disruption, globalization. Startups, micro, small, and medium enterprises, as well as large corporations, all face interesting challenges in the market today. Peek into the world of exciting opportunities and partnerships to drive growth with the latest business news and information. We are open for business. Join the conversations to create a more vibrant environment for entrepreneurship. Catch Open for Business every Saturday from 5 to 6 p.m. Open for Business, from vision to action.
British Prime Minister Boris Johnson pledges that Britain will be Africa's partner through thick and thin as he opens the UK-Africa Investment Summit in London.
Africa is the future, and the UK has a huge and active role to play in that future. And I hope you agree. Because we are and we will be a partner, your partner, through thick and thin.
Prime Minister Boris Johnson meets 16 African leaders at an investment summit Monday that will see Britain cast out a net for trading partners in its new life outside the EU. The first UK-Africa Investment Summit in London comes less than 2 weeks before Britain formally ends its decades-long involvement in the European integration project. It also follows a tour of sub-Saharan Africa former Prime Minister Theresa May made in 2018, the first by a UK leader in 5 years. The 16 leaders from 21 attending African countries include Presidents Abdel Fattah al-Sisi of Egypt and Uhuru Kenyatta of Kenya. Nigerian President Muhammadu Buhari and Ghanaian leader Nana Akufo-Addo will also attend.
Hundreds of climate activists in Landquart, Switzerland are beginning a march to Davos, where the 50th edition of the World Economic Forum is being held this year.
And here we are with several hundred people hiking to Davos. It is amazing. It is incredible solidarity for people in a country that is very wealthy, that is not dealing with the same kinds of issues, but they understand the immorality of a Davos, the immorality of a billionaire class that meets every year to celebrate their excesses.
They hope to pressure on the participants to finally take stronger action in the face of the climate emergency. Organizers insist the focus for this week's annual meeting in Davos will be as much on hearing from climate change activists as on rapid-fire corporate deal-making in a succession of cocktail-fueled soirees. Guests will include Swedish climate activist Greta Thunberg and Mika White, co-creator of the anti-finance movement Occupy Wall Street, alongside the more traditional parade of chief executives, celebrities, and politicians, such as U.S. President Donald Trump. German economist Klaus Schwab is now 81 and remains very much in charge of the organization that doesn't come cheap. Fees for joining or partnering with the WEF range from 60,000 to 600,000 Swiss francs.
Jake Virtanen borrowed a move from his Western Hockey League days, and it helped lift the Vancouver Canucks to victory. Virtanen scored the go-ahead goal midway through the second period, and Mark Strom made 34 saves to lead the Canucks past the Arizona Coyotes 3-1 on Thursday night. Zulti Horvat reports.
The Vancouver Canucks battled back from an early 1-0 deficit to defeat the Arizona Coyotes. Forward Jake Virtanen scored the game winner in the second period, with Tanner Pearson adding an empty netter in the third to bring the final score to 3-1 for the Canucks. The Coyotes came out strong, with Christian Dvorak scoring in the first period. Before the period was up, however, Canucks captain Bo Horvath snuck one past the Arizona goalie Adin Hill to tie the game. Forward Jake Virtanen continued the scoring in the second period with his career-high tying 14th goal of the season, and what turned out to be the game-winning goal as well. As the Coyotes emptied their net in the third period to try and get the tying goal, Canucks forward Tanner Pearson scored an empty netter to put the game away and secure the win for Vancouver. The final goal was the 100th goal of Tanner Pearson's career. The Canucks played their best defensive hockey of the season in the third period and locked down the Coyotes. Canucks captain Bo Horvath spoke about what they did differently against Arizona.
No, I thought we stuck to our game. I didn't think we sat back a lot. I thought we kept taking it to them, which we haven't done in the past, and that's just been learning. And I thought we did a great job of taking it to them again in the third period.
With the win, the Canucks move into first place in the tough Pacific Division for the moment. Defenseman Quinn Hughes and forward Jake Virtanen, who scored the game winner, talked about what they need to do to maintain the top spot as the playoffs get closer.
Teams in our conference are, big and strong, and they win a lot of games, and it's a tight. So, moving forward, we're going to have to, next game we're going to have to come out with a big win and then be ready right after break, and we can't let off the gas, so it'll be tight.
Yeah, Coach mentioned it in Winnipeg. He said the games are going to start feeling like, close to the playoff games here, and I think he's right, but definitely at this one, and, it was tight. At times there wasn't a lot of space, and you had to make the right plays and stuff like that, and I think we did a good job at that point.
With the All-Star break just around the corner, the Canucks and Coyotes are both fighting for a playoff spot. With the win tonight, the Canucks jumped into first place in the Pacific Division. The Coyotes dropped to 5th in the division, which shows just how tight the playoff race in the Pacific is. Schulte Horvath, Eagle News, 1 with 25.
Thank you, Zolti.
Thank you, Zolti. Don't forget to like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Tumblr. Also, check out our boards and Pinterest and pictures on Instagram. I'm Sam Cepeda. Thanks for joining us.
And that's the news for tonight. Join us online and here again tomorrow evening. From all of us here at Eagle News, I'm Alma Angeles, and we're 1 with 25.